This weekend, a new family Christmas movie, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, drops in theaters. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Share your thoughts on the best Christmas pageant ever, and give me some context. Have you read the book? Have you watched the old 1980s TV movie? All of that fun stuff. Now, this movie is an adaptation of the book of the same name, and it was directed by the creator of The Chosen, Jenkins, and I was actually able to interview him a couple days ago. I will be incorporating segments of that interview into this review, but he described the movie this way.
I said it's Wes Anderson meets Norman Rockwell, inspired by Babe, A Christmas Story, and Paddington 1 and 2. With, of course, It's a Wonderful Life hanging over the top of all of it because it's the greatest movie of all time.
That's how he tries to sell you on the movie, but is it any good? Let's get started talking about the good. So I've already watched this movie twice with my family. The first time we watched it, as soon as it ended, my wife said, I loved it. Then we watched it a second time with my sister, who's a massive fan of the book. She watches the old TV movie every single Christmas with her family. She was so excited to watch this film. Second time we watched it, as soon as it ended, my wife said, I liked it even more the second time, and then she bought tickets to see it a third time with her mother opening day, and they don't normally go to the movies. For my sister, who is a big fan of the book, she's also tends to be a purist when it comes to book adaptations. She also thoroughly enjoyed the movie and started recommending it to all of her friends and everything like that. As for me, I thought it was just such an enjoyable, heartfelt Christmas movie. And the thing that just immediately stuck out to me is that it feels like a movie created outside of time. That it's not exactly clear when the movie takes place. One of the things my wife said just after watching the trailer for the film, she felt nostalgia for a film she hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
How did you go about crafting a film which did kind of elicit that feeling of nostalgia without being derivative of other Christmas classics?
That might be my favorite question and or comment that I've gotten about the film. I said up front, this movie, you shouldn't be able to identify which decade it's in. Mm-hmm. So I used examples of movies like Babe, Paddington 1 and 2. This should feel like, to a parent, this reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of then. Here's what we do know. It's not today. It's then. And that was a term that my production designer came up with. We started putting the word then in all of our discussions. Every shot in the movie, we treated like a painting. That's what I think evokes that reaction from your wife, is from frame one, you feel like we're taking you to a place that you're not in currently, but you wish you were.
It's the sort of movie that just feels like a traditional Christmas movie, the kind of movie that you watch every single December with your family. The other thing that just immediately popped about the film to me is that it's just such a sincere film without any cynicism, where it's a film that's all about wanting everyone to understand the true meaning of Christmas. And it presents the kids in it, the Herdmans, as these misbehaving kids, but it also presents the church ladies as very misbehaving and bad, but it doesn't have this sense of you want something. It's not like the big payoff of the movie is that the church ladies get what's coming to them. Instead, it's the sort of movie that it just wants everyone to get the message. That's the payoff of everything. There's just like a sweetness to it, an actual love, care, and concern for all people. And something about that is so refreshing. There's just this great sense of grace to the entire movie that at its core, you really care about people. Even if you don't like them, you still want the best for them. Even if they're difficult, you still care about them. Today's video is sponsored by Uncommon Goods. Spark something uncommon this holiday with the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The holiday season is upon us. Just this past weekend, my family fired up the Mariah Carey, pulled down the Halloween decorations, and started putting out our Christmas decorations. Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts that spark joy, wonder, delight, and that it's exactly what I wanted feeling. So like for my wife, I picked up one of these retro picture viewers. Comes with a redemption code where I'll be able to submit a bunch of pictures of our kids, our family, our dogs, me, and then they'll send me picture wheels to have a little nostalgic fun playing with an item from her childhood, except remembering our family and this pretty face. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the US. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts. And that's the cool thing. It's not the same stuff you see everywhere else. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/Sean Chandler. That's uncommongoods.com/Sean Chandler for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. It's also a movie that can be very funny, and it's based off of a book that came out 50 years ago. That the book itself was very witty. And so the nature of the humor, it's not at all pop culture references. It's not modern day banter sort of thing. It is kind of this old school sort of wit. It's reminiscent of, films like The Sandlot and just these movies that have that flavor of humor to them. And one thing I found so interesting about it is that a film that is very family friendly, it's so wholesome, it is for all ages, and it still managed to have a certain edge to it. One of the iconic things that's in the book is that the Herdmans, the bad kids in the story, smoke cigars. And that was something that even had discussions with some people, like, would they include that in the movie or would they cut that out? And they did. They included children smoking cigars in this movie. The new Penguin TV show for adults didn't allow Penguin to smoke cigars, but this faith-based family movie has the Herdmans smoke cigars. And I kind of love that about this film. And it even ties into some of the messaging of the film of these sort of taboo things that we try to ostracize, alienate people. Like, those are the bad kids. They smoke cigars? You can't show that in a kid's movie. That almost ties into the exact message of this film. And it was something that the director overtly fought for.
When I was first developing this with Lionsgate, who I will say up front, allowed me to make the movie that I wanted to make. But one of their first comments was, do they have to smoke cigars? Do they have to set fire to, do they have to commit arson? I'm like, this is one of the funniest moments. It has to be in here. To their credit, they agreed.
That has become this ultimate taboo. A child smoking? Yeah. What? In a faith-based movie? What? Which is like that's the exact point. Like, that's the exact reaction you're supposed to have. But the thing that really makes people fall in love with this story, whether it be the book or this new movie, is it just has a very powerful message about it, where the kids that feel like the worst kids ever end up putting on this Christmas pageant in a church. And it's so much about the way that we judge people superficially, that we can be unsympathetic towards them. And at the same time, how the people that are viewed as the lowest sometimes get it the most. And that is so much at the core of this story, and how everyone is transformed. And the movie kind of expands certain characters. In the book, the father is barely even a character in it, and he has a lot more to do here, and he ties into certain plot points that both are really funny, but also very heartfelt. It's a fun movie. It's a heartfelt movie. It's a very sweet movie, and it's a gracious movie. And that is something that is just so missing from movies, where you get to the end of them and you want revenge, you want the bad guys to get what's coming from them. And that's not what this movie is about at all. It's about how everyone needs to understand the Christmas story. I thoroughly enjoyed it. My wife adored it. And my sister, who is the fan, was a big fan of it as well. There's a few more things to talk about here, so let's move on to the mixed aspects of the film. And the big thing that comes to mind here, this isn't a good or a bad thing, but there's a question that immediately comes to mind with a film like this that is a faith-based film, that is a very church-based film, is this just for Christians? Will it be alienating for non-religious people, non-churched people? And this is a movie based on a book which has been read in public schools for decades. My sister first had it read to her in public school in California decades ago. One of our friends' mothers was a public school teacher here in Texas and read it to her first graders for decades, every single December. And so while it is a story that is very church-centric, it's designed to have a message that is also very universal that anyone can connect with.
We're already seeing reviews from normally cynical critics or people who normally would hate quote-unquote faith-based movies who are going, this doesn't feel like a church movie. It doesn't feel like it's exclusive. It doesn't feel like it's got an agenda other than Jesus was born for you. He was born for everybody. And sometimes people in poverty can be closer to the truth of the story than others. And who's going to argue with that message?
When the movie first debuted on Rotten Tomatoes a few days ago, it actually had 100% critic score and audience score. And I just looked at some of the names in there. And there are people that, as far as I know, they're friends of mine that, as far as I know, aren't churchgoers. They're not overtly religious. And they were very positive on the film because it is just this kind of sweet, traditional Christmas movie about not writing people off. It's overtly a Christianity-based film that is talking about Jesus extensively, but not preaching about Jesus. It communicates its message through story, through character arcs, and they're universal. Whether you share my faith as a Christian or not, they're universal ways about how we should treat one another. So I do think it's a story that is for everyone, while also being overtly faith-based. From there, let's move on to the bad. To me, this felt like a movie that knew exactly who its target audience was and exactly what they wanted out of this film, and it delivers that very well. But that's also to say it's a movie designed for families. It has the kind of an aw shucks earnestness to pretty much the entire production, and even kind of the performances, the nature of the humor, the nature of the messaging. It's all very direct in a way that plays great for people that want this kind of sentimental, sappy, old-fashioned Christmas movie. And it does that really well. But like, I imagine if I watched this when I was single in 24, this movie would not have been for me at all. And I think the trailers do a pretty good job of letting you know what you're in for. And if you're someone that loved the book, watched the trailer and went, oh, that looks really good, you're going to adore this film. Now, if you watched the trailer and you rolled your eyes or whatever, it's just simply not going to be for you. And all the things that you would say about to criticize it, I would understand where you're coming from. But that's also to say it's just not a movie designed for you. And this is a movie that very much so, I think I watch it so differently as a father and as a husband, that when I watch this movie with my family, there's just this big sense of joy that comes with it, even on the level of like a message that I hope that my children understand about the true meaning of Christmas, and that Christmas is for everyone. Jesus came for everyone. I want my kids to understand that, and it's a movie that's able to do that, communicate that without preaching. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. My wife adored the film. This is now going to be a new December traditional Christmas movie for the Chandler family household. It can be funny, it's very heartfelt, and I think it has a great message at its core. Highly recommend this film for families. Overall, it's an A- on the entertainment scale, an 8 out of 10. And this is one you should see it with your family. You're like a single dude in your early 20s, probably can sit this one out, but it'll play absolutely great with families. You can check out my interview with the director right over there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.